right. Just last month, it's last month, right? Our guest, Kenna Williams, left her job and moved to Johannesburg. So we are here to talk to Kenna about those decisions and the adventure that lays ahead for her and everything else under the sun. So before we get really started, Kenna, can you give us a little bit more of your background?
I'm sure. I am 43 years young of this week. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee. Hey, Memphis, Tennessee. I lived the last 19 or so years in Oxnard, California, working as an aerospace engineer for the Navy. Currently quit. September 30th was my last day at work, and I am currently living in the suburbs of Johannesburg here in South Africa.
Okay. While we're here, this isn't your first big travel adventure, right? You have travel as a big background. So tell us a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, at this point, I don't really know how many countries I've been to. I tell people I've been to 6 of the 7 continents. I have not hit Antarctica only because no real desire. I don't really like being cold. That's really the only reason. And also it's very expensive to go there. And even on a deal, not interested in going. But I've been, several countries in Africa, obviously all over Asia, a little bit of Europe and South America, North America, obviously, and other places in between.
Okay. Well, with that, welcome to 12 Days of Career Breaks. I am Roshida Dowe of sheetasontheloose.com.
And I'm Stephanie Perry of Vicarious.com. We are interviewing 12 Black women who took time off of work to travel. We're talking about travel planning and travel experiences. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you'll be notified when we post the next video.
All right, Kenna, now back to you. We're going to start this off with something fun, a little surprise we didn't tell you about. We have a sponsor. It's called House Party the Game, and you are our first contestant.
Yes.
All right.
Game time. All right. So House Party the Game has a 90s version and they have a 2000s version that's coming out soon. So we're asking you a couple of questions from the 90s version. I don't know what you win.
Bragging rights. We'll just call it bragging rights.
You will be champion. Okay. So you'll get the title champion. Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Perfect.
All right. Question number 1. What was the name of Beyonce's second studio album, which featured the hit singles Deja Vu, Irreplaceable, and Get Me Body?
See, I don't even know. I don't know. I don't even know the name of her album.
Okay. Super secret? I don't know either. So Beyonce stands, don't come for us. Do not come for us.
No, don't come for me.
All right. Stephanie knows the answer. I don't. So
I thought this was the easy question. The answer is B-Day. B-Day. It came out on her birthday. Yes. Okay. B-Day. And okay. Happy birthday to you, Kenna. Happy birthday.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Question number 2. Okay. So y'all are Cali women. So this maybe this one is the easy one. Which LA-based Grammy Award-winning hip-hop group, then a duo, no longer a duo, got their first major break in high school after being signed to Eazy-E's Ruthless Records?
Ooh.
LA-based Grammy Award-winning hip-hop group. Eazy-E signed them in the 90s. There are, I don't know how many, 3 or 4. They're male and female. And I wouldn't necessarily.
I'm failing here.
Okay.
I don't know this one either.
So they've done projects separately. One of them was called The Duchess, one of the separate individual projects.
Is it no, it's not the Black Eyed Peas, is it?
Yes, say it.
Black Eyed Peas?
You are the champion.
Yay! All right, now to the actual non-house party questions. First one is, okay, so you quit your job, you moved to Johannesburg, you left California, moved to Johannesburg. How long had you been thinking about doing it? And second part of the question, how long did you spend actually in the planning process?
Well, actually, I have been planning this for a very long time. I would probably say my initial planning probably started 2-3 years ago, and this was not my first location. So this was not the reason I'm here is really by a fluke. This was not where I was really going. Originally, my plan was to go to Malaysia. I was going to go to Malaysia under a business visa, and then last year I met someone, and they lived here in South Africa, and blah, yada, 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 yada. Here I am today. We're no longer together. But at the time we had planned for me to come here, and I was like, okay, I think I can come here. So, I ended up getting a visa for here, and now I'm here. But it took me, I'd probably say 2 to 3 years of, I guess, the thought process of thinking about how am I going to do this? How do I walk away from the type of job that I have? And as far as the actual planning, I would say probably about 8 to 9 months, maybe.
Okay. So follow-up question. You moved with someone in mind, and that person is no longer in the picture. Do you have any regrets about moving to Johannesburg? Oh, wait, correction?
No. We split before I made the move. So the move, we split back in March of this year. I didn't get my visa until May. I had already planned to go without him. So I already made the plan to go. So that was it. Because I was wanting to leave my job anyway. I wanted to do something different. So even if he was or was not in the picture, I was leaving. I mean, I have been here. I would maybe have gone somewhere else, but that's where I am now.
Okay. Thank you.
Can we go back to your original plan of Malaysia? Now, when I left, I originally thought that I was going to move to Malaysia. They have great internet. It's inexpensive. But then when I got there, this was before I'd ever gotten there. But then when I got there, I didn't like it. What about Malaysia was calling you?
Same thing. Expensive to live there. It is a great location for someone that travels a lot because Kuala Lumpur Airport can basically get you pretty much anywhere you really need to go. And Asia also connects to Dubai to get you to anywhere else if you need to get to various countries in Africa. So I looked at it from that perspective. Also, they have several visas that apply to me, like a business visa where they'll allow you to stay for 2 to 3 years. I was like, okay, if I can't figure it out in 2 to 3 years, I probably need to be doing something else. So I looked at it from that perspective.
Okay.
And I'll tell you one thing, and don't laugh about this. Once I realized, originally I was like, Malaysia. I don't know if I can talk about this, but I was thinking, can I meet a man there? I don't know. So
Girl, I said, talk about this.
Well, I figured my chances would be higher in this country versus Malaysia. So that was another reason to make the move to this place.
Okay, thank you.
Now, how did you first, so you said that you had originally had the idea like 2 or 3 years ago. How did you first get this idea? Like, it's not something that is normal where we're from.
I think for a lot of us, it starts with work frustration. I'd worked for the same company for many years, and it's getting to the point where you were getting frustrated with the rat race. I was applying for upper level management positions and told you don't have experience. I'm thinking, I've been in this position for how many years? I think I know this job at this point. And to be told you're not qualified, and to see other people get the position and then they jack up the whole office and then they're replaced. And I'm just like, but I wasn't qualified, right? Got it. So it's, you get to a point where you're like, hey, why am I doing this? Why am I killing myself? Why am I coming to this office every day? And that was it. My current, one of the reasons that I will say this, that propelled me to do what I'm doing now is last year, my mother passed away in April last year. Doing my performance evaluation of the same month. And I should also add this, that my mother died April 7th. One of my best friends, coworkers, one of my best friends who is also a coworker who sat right next to me at work, died 2 days later. So I basically asked for 2 months off work. And basically I said, let me have this time off work so I can go regroup, think, cry, grieve, or whatever. So before I left, I had my performance evaluation, and my boss at the time told me, she said, you're on task to do everything you need to do for this year's performance ratings. You're doing fine. However, if you can take off work for 2 months, just know that you can be replaced.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay. And then she told me, she says, if you, she said, you need to pursue your real passions in life. And if you leave this place, we will understand. Okay. And I was so angry because number one, my mother had just died 2 weeks ago. I'm already back at work. Our performance evaluation is, you're basically hassling me. And I'm thinking, are you telling me to quit my job? So I basically left that job because I decided this is a hostile work environment. I don't want to be in this office anymore. Took a job for a different department, basically because I said, I need to get out of here because I can't do that. And that basically, although I hate what she told me that day, hindsight, somebody needed to tell me that to get to the point where I am now. Because I think if she had not told me that, I would have probably still been at work, upset, angry over a few little words that someone told me that basically, I would say she probably saved my life in a sense, if you look at it like that. Yeah, so you look at it like that to say, hey, yes, your words, they hurt, they were very painful at the time, but it needed to be said at a point, I'm grieving and you give me more grief, but I needed it.
That's right. A lot of people just need a push out the door. And that's what got you out the door.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So what are you calling this? Do you call this a sabbatical? Are you never working again? What a retirement?
I don't really know what to call this. I didn't take a sabbatical for it. I basically turned in a full resignation, basically said, thank you guys for the time that I've had here. It's been a great experience for me. However, I worked for the government, and if I wanted to come back, I could come back. But at this moment in life, I am enjoying doing me at this time. I'm sitting here in my apartment in Sandton, South Africa, and I'm thinking, I haven't left this place all day, and I'm actually okay with it. They have Wi-Fi here. I've got a great view. I can work from my computer. Nobody's bothering me. I've made friends with the housekeepers, the hotel, the staff. I basically rented an apartment in a hotel, which oddly kind of works out very well for me. So I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah, that's nice. Kenna, what was the hardest decision you had to make when deciding to move abroad?
Honestly, the hardest decision was the leaving the job part, because once you leave a job where you have been there for so many years, it becomes a part of your life. You leaving I tell people, I'm leaving a consistent income, leaving health insurance, and leaving everything. So that was probably the hardest decision, because originally I had planned to make this move in 2020. And one of my friends called me and she told me, she says, why are you lying to yourself? You're going to leave before 2020 because you're going to be so fed up that you need to step now. And I have to tell you this, for anybody that will be watching this later, how I knew it was time to go was my new office was on the second floor of this building. I would go upstairs to the second floor. There was a little window in the building. If I would see people walking down the hallway when it was time for me to go to work, I would wait till they passed, and then I would go into my office because I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to deal with anything. So I was like, let me just escape. And that's not my personality, to hide from people. I just didn't want to deal with it. That's why I knew you're not going to make it to 2020. Yeah. You got to get out now.
You had to get out. You had definitely
I was like,
had
I
to
got to
get
get out. I got to get out now. Yeah.
Okay. So, and were there any other logistics that made it more difficult to leave? So you had to quit your job, but was there like houses or cars or anything that made you had to be very careful and thoughtful about when you were leaving?
Basically, with my house, I have I call it a modest condo in California. Basically, had to hire a property management company to take over my house. A lot of people were saying, are you going to sell your house? Or are you going to rent it out? And I was thinking, because my life is in flux right now, and California real estate, if you have a house, it's hard to get back in the market. So I said, let me just keep this house for a while and see what happens. So I decided to keep the house, get a property management company to do that. My cars, I basically, admittedly, I sold things for like so dirt cheap just to get rid of them. Just to get rid of them. One of my cars, I just gave it away. I was just like, here, take this car. Gave one car away, The other one, I sold it for cheap. The furniture in my house, I was putting it up on the Facebook marketplace. Here, come get this $10. Come get this $20. Because it was cheaper for me to have people pay me for my stuff than it was for me to pay someone to take it out of my house. So at that point, I just needed to get stuff out. And my biggest thing was I had to decide was, hey, I need to become a minimalist. I need to get rid of stuff. So prior to actually getting a lot of the bulk of the stuff done, what I did was I gave myself a little test. So I basically started going through the drawers, the dresser drawers of my room and said, okay, can I throw this away? Can I throw this away? Can I throw this away? So I basically took a lot of trinkets. I held everything, looked at it and said, okay, woosa, let it go. And just threw it out. Because I figured if I held on to stuff, I would still be there. So I had to let everything go. I did keep a few things. The things that I decided to keep, these were things like, with my parents being deceased, any birthday cards that they sent me, I kept those. Any other birthday cards from anyone else, I love my friends, but I couldn't keep it. I just couldn't keep it. So I downsized from a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 3-story condo into a less than 500 square foot apartment here. So I couldn't bring anything with me, really. I just brought my clothes. That's it.
Okay. So you sound like you were really motivated to get out of there. If you're selling things, giving things away and selling things really cheaply like this, you were committed to this decision. There was no, maybe I'll come back in a month. You are in Johannesburg.
No, that was it. Because once I paid my rent here, that was it.
Yeah. Money's off.
I feel you. Yeah. Okay.
So you show up at the airport with how much? How much stuff did you take with you?
I showed up here with 4 bags. So I actually paid, I paid for extra luggage. And I just had 4 bags. And it was so funny when I was coming here, people were looking at me like, oh my God, what are you doing? I was like, I'm moving, leave me alone, you know?
Yeah. They're
so
like,
I just had 4
her
bags.
vacation, she is taking too much stuff on that vacation.
Yes. So I was out of my house by the time I was staying at a hotel in my city. And there was a man that walked up to me. He says, ma'am, that is too much luggage for one night here at the hotel. I was like, dude, I'm moving this overseas. So I took everything.
Yeah. It's funny how people can look out from outside, can look into your situation and think they fully understand it when they have no idea what's going on. Yeah.
And oddly, I would say this, I left one, do you know those big plastic bins? I left one bin at a friend's house. So I'm glad to say of everything that I lived in my condo for over 11 years, I only left one bin at a friend's house. So
nice.
Yeah. So I'm actually coming back to California next week. And my goal is to break down that bin, get rid of that stuff, and then only keep the things that I need to keep.
All right. Super minimalism here. I like it.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about this time. Do you have plans? Like, what are your goals during this time? Is this all about R&R, or are you working on business stuff, or what?
Probably a little bit of both. For those that don't know, I do have a small travel consulting company. So I do host group trips, private trips, and people contact me for travel consulting. So the bulk of my day is spent, either emailing people, talking to new clients, scheduling conferences or things of that nature. So that's pretty much what I'm doing for now. I have other projects I want to start. There are people that are wanting to do some new things with me. So we'll see what 2020 brings. And one thing I do want to do is I want to write. I started writing in 2016. Not necessarily for a book. People are telling me that I have many books to write, but sometimes I think the writing is just really for me, not necessarily for others. So I've got, writing scribblings on like cocktail napkins and stuff like that, just like stacked up together. So eventually I'll take that information and, I don't know, type it up, write it and say, okay, here's a story. It's great or not. I don't really care. It's my life. So it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you said you have a small travel consulting company, but your trips aren't necessarily small, are they? Come on. Okay. All right. Let's try again and give it to us real. Come on.
Well, I have the name of my company is my name is Kenna Williams LLC, and I am probably known for my trademark trip, which is the Dubai Blackout trip. This coming year, I think we have about 300 people will be attending on that trip. Got other trips that I do as well, but Dubai Blackout is probably the one that people know me for the most. And also, I have another trademark a slogan, "Book That Ish." It's also one of my slogans as well, which shout out to my attorney for getting me to trademark stuff like that. So if you have anything like that, please trademark it.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about Book That Ish. So this is your travel philosophy?
It is. Basically, Book That Ish. You want to go somewhere, you want to do something, just do it. You know, a lot of people are sitting around waiting for friends to do something and, I want to go, but no one to go with me. Just go. You know, just go. Don't be afraid. Take life and just run with it and just go. So just book that ish and go.
Okay.
So you guys, you have some awesome trips coming up. Now you're the first person that I knew. I was going to say the first Black person, but you're the first person I knew who went to Fiji. And I loved seeing your pictures of Fiji. Not only did you go to Fiji, but you found a family there.
Yes.
So how did you end up deciding to go to Fiji? Because it's, and then what happened once you got there?
The first time I went to Fiji, there was a flight deal on one of the flight deal websites. And I was like, oh, this looks like something to do. Let me go. So I booked a trip to Fiji, not really knowing anything, knowing nothing. I just said, let me just go. And I went, stayed at just a decent hotel, did some tours and just had a good time. The interesting thing about being in Fiji was I went on a village tour and there was a lady that she was selling trinkets and necklaces and things of that nature. I saw her and she looks like my deceased grandmother. And she didn't try to sell me anything. She just came up to me and she looked me in the eye. She says, "I love you." And she hugged me and I broke down crying. I was like, oh my God. Because I'm thinking, is this my grandmother? This is my grandma coming through some Fijian woman. So my Fijian grandmother, Sariana, basically has taken on like a grandmother role for me. So we talk on a very regular basis. I visited her outside of my regular Fiji trips. I treat her like I treated my grandmother. Put a little something in her hand. You know how you treat grandma, like, here you go, grandma. The times when I'm there, she'll invite me over to their house. I'll eat dinner with them. So they basically have pulled me into their fold. And it's like they are, practically at this point, they're my family.
It's great.
So when you take people back to Fiji, you take everybody to go meet her and.
Yes. And this last trip, we were in Fiji in October and she prepared fresh coconuts for everybody. So she treats them. I'm like, hey, don't do this for them. This is for me, That's my grandma. So she treats everybody like that. And we had one person on our trip that her mother had passed away within the last 2 weeks. And she went over to her and she hugged her. And she's the type of person that there are people that when they hug you, you feel their energy that you just kind of just melt. And it's safe, it's comfortable, and they don't want anything from you. They're not trying to harm you. They are people that genuinely care about you.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. Switching gears again, back to work. So you worked for the Navy for a very long time. What kept you there, besides a paycheck?
You know what?
You were. We didn't say that you were an aerospace engineer. You weren't just, hanging out in the lobby. you had a serious job. I'm sure you had other options. So what kept you in the Navy or working for the Navy, I should say?
I actually enjoyed the work that I did. I used to work when I first started. I was a flight test engineer, so for fighter aircraft. So I would spend my nights. We would work a lot of hours, so I would spend my nights in the back of jets. It was fun. It was a lot of fun stuff. I call it pressing buttons, doing all of those type of things. It was a lot of fun, learning about all the physics, all the dynamics, how these birds fly, drop weapons and things of that nature. I switched positions into a management role where we did a lot of testing. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed working with my customers, all the different clients that we had. So it was great. I think once I got to the point where, I was thinking, okay, this job is fine, but I need to do something else, need to advance. When I started applying for upper positions, I think and it wasn't happening. I was thinking, okay, I can't stay here. I was getting stagnant. I was getting bored. I told one person, I said, when it got to the point where I was wearing my muumuus to work, that was it.
No,
that was it.
No, you didn't. Did you really?
Yeah. There's always a sign. There's always a sign that it's time to go.
That was a sign. So that was a sign.
Okay.
So, and you've also been, so I follow, so we're Facebook friends, and I follow Before the Date, After the Date, where you talk a lot about dating. Okay. Mm-hmm. So is it okay if we talk about dating? I don't think you have a problem with it. Okay.
I sure don't.
So you told us that you're in Johannesburg because a man had, because you were going to go there and be with him. And we know how men generally ruin your plans, but this man actually helped make your plans better. Yeah, generally. But he actually helped actually form a plan for you. So what is dating like? I know you just moved there, but you've been there a lot. So what is dating like specifically in Johannesburg, especially as an African-American woman?
I've only been here not that long, so I really don't know. And I'm technically dating someone, but they're not here. So I'm not checking out the scene in this area. Although I will say, I've been out in public and I've noticed men, hello, how are you doing? Hi, they will come up to you. I've noticed that. I was in the store the other day and some man followed me so closely. I asked him, I said, are you security? He's like, no, I'm just a regular guy. How are you? And I was like, okay, thank you, but no, thank you. So they seem, friendly, like they want to talk. So that's good. I think for anyone that's looking to meet someone, this is probably a good place to come. But,
I did Tinder. Oh, sorry.
Uh-huh.
I Tindered in Johannesburg when I was there, maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I had to delete the app. I deleted the app from my phone.
Well,
Too much.
Before I travel, I was going to say what I normally do before I travel somewhere is I had Tinder goals. So I would set up my location before I arrived, plan dates. I'd have a whole week planned a date. So I got tired of this one, boom, 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 go out with this one, whatever. I did it a lot in Dubai. So a lot of people are like, in Dubai? I was like, yes. So
I actually learned that from you online. I saw you post about it and I was like, brilliant.
Yes.
Yes. I have not personally had a lot of Tinder and internationally. I think I've been on like 1 or 2 dates. We didn't really, whatever. But we in this space, we end up talking about dating a lot. So what have your experiences been like as you travel and date?
I've had a lot of good experiences with guys, the times that I've been out. The only worst experience I've had with dating internationally was I met a guy, it's so funny to me. I met a guy in Dubai and this was last year. And on the first date, he was convinced by God that he and I were supposed to be together, that we were supposed to be married. I was like, dude, I just met you today. I don't want anything from you. Just, can we just go get some chicken and just be done with this? Whatever. It's to the point where I had some errands to run. And I told him, I said, hey, if you don't mind running these errands with me, feel free to come along. You're welcome. He said, fine. He's probably the first person I have probably ever wanted to push out of a car. I was just so irritated. I couldn't wait till that date was over. And he was cute too, but no.
You said about dating in Dubai, did you ever end up dating someone who was from there, or have they only been tourists or?
Most of the people in Dubai, I think you probably know this already, 85% of them are expats. So
yeah,
I went out with a Turkish guy, Nigerian guy, Cameroonian guy, and somebody else. They were just from a variety of different places. No one that was actually from there.
Okay, and I asked because I went to Dubai once before I went on your trip. And I don't think I ever, in that entire probably week and a half I was there, I don't think I met anyone who was actually from the UAE. Like everyone was from somewhere else. And so I wondered if you were able to, because you've been there so many times, you probably have more connections, if you ever actually like broke through that barrier.
Although I have friends that live there that dated people that were actually from there, but it's very rare.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Do you think there's like a 90-day fiance thing happening nowadays? Is it harder to date when you're traveling now because people know that the tourist visa is real, or the fiance visa is real?
No, people have been knowing about that forever. That's like so common. It's the green card thing. You know, some of the situations are real, some are not. So I don't know. I think people at this point, everybody knows, but they've been knowing for years.
Okay, that's why I deleted in South Africa, because I felt like everybody just wants me for my citizenship.
Well, you know what? No, go ahead.
It was like, you know, I meet you at a restaurant, you know, where I'm minding my business. I give you my contact information. By the time I get back to my hotel or my hostel, the messages are like flooding in. You're everything I've ever wanted, baby. I just can't believe. I'm like, I mean, dude, you don't even know my real name.
Yes. Right. Well, that's an interesting thing to talk about, because I will say, for me personally, especially somebody that's in these international streets, I tell people, you know, if I'm talking to guys online and your fascination with America becomes greater than our regular conversation, I'm done. I'm done, because to me, that's telling me, you know, you're wanting something else. So I don't know. However, there are ways to, I'm never going to incriminate myself.
Okay. This is going on YouTube.
I've also found that there are some challenges in dating internationally that, because our expectations are different than other people's. Like, I went on a date with a guy in Mexico, and he told me he preferred to hang out with people who weren't Mexican. And I'm like, but you're Mexican and you live in Mexico. So like, I don't know I can't speak to this self-hate that I'm sensing, but like, I don't want to voyage through that. So I'll take a step back from whatever's going on here. And so I realized that in other countries, even the way people, like in Mexico, when men approach me, I'm like, this energy, I don't know what this is. Like it's different than I have experienced dating in the US, and sometimes I don't know how to react to it myself. So have you experienced that too?
I don't know. That's an interesting thing. I will say, I guess this is confession time. Most of the men that I date, they're all foreign men. So I've never had a relationship with a man that is based in the States. So even if he was living in the States, he was from somewhere else. So I think for my dating experience, it's all been based on a man that lived somewhere else, and maybe he's bringing his culture to wherever he is. So I can't really speak about what the experiences are in America, because I can only go by what my girlfriends tell me. So that's all I can go by. I mean, not that I didn't want to, it's just that these type of men never approach me. So
while we're still in the confessional, before we get out, is there anything else you don't want the people on YouTube to know? Come on. What?
No, I'm a pretty open book at this point in my life. I mean, I'm obviously on Facebook, saying all kinds of things. My before the date, after the date, Chronicles of Push a Key dating page, tell all. So there's nothing you know, hiding or anything like this. I tell people that my life is really not for me. It's really for other people. So whatever my stories are, hopefully they inspire other people to do whatever they need to do. So, I mean, at this point, I don't work for the government anymore, so who cares?
I really appreciate how open you are and how much you share, because a lot of women, I think for Black women, we feel like we have to keep things quiet because everybody's going to have something to say. And I really appreciate you showing what real life is like, what real travel is like, what it's like to move to another place, because people want to see it. It's hard to imagine something for your own life if you can't point to another person and say this person did it. And so when people can see that you're doing it, that you're making it work, and that you're enjoying it, it gives other people permission to at least consider it for themselves. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any advice for women who are afraid to take the leap themselves?
What are you afraid of, ladies? What are you afraid of? A lot of people will say that they're scared to travel overseas. And I tell people, you take a risk every time you open your front door. So if you look at it like that, get on the plane, you know, go somewhere. If you want to start somewhere that may be easy to travel, I mean, it could be a road trip, somewhere that's 2 or 3 hours away. Get used to traveling by yourself, used to doing solo travel, also group travel as well. Don't let me knock that. So you got that as well. But, you know, get used to going places and doing things by yourself. Just don't be afraid of the unknown because you don't know it. If you can leave your house every day to go to work, go to school, go to church, go to wherever your activities are, you can go somewhere. It's just in a different location. I was sitting here on my couch earlier today saying, wow, I live in South Africa, and looking out the window, it looks like New York. So, so it's just, you know, you're just planting yourself in a new location to give yourself new adventures, new experiences. So just do it. Book that ish.
Book that ish.
Book that ish. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us, Kenna. Where can people follow you and connect with you online?
Most people connect with me on Instagram. I'm at Just Me Kenna, and that's Kenna. Or you can send me a message on my website with www.KennalWilliams.com. Or you can also find me on my Facebook page, which my name, Kenna Williams. So that's pretty much how you can find me. I'm all over the place. And I do answer messages. I tell people I'm not at the point yet where somebody else is answering my messages. So I actually answer back to everybody that sent messages to me.
Okay. So not counting California and not counting any of your work trips you have coming up, what is the next trip you have that you're really excited about?
The next trip I have that I'm excited about is Colombia. I've been to Colombia many times, but I'm going to Colombia next month with my cousins. And one of my cousins that's going, she's never traveled outside the US. So this is her first international trip. So it's 6 of us that are going. So we're excited to go hang out there and, you know, get our cousin stamped up. So she's ready.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you, ladies, for having me here. I'm so glad. Hopefully you will bring me back again. I enjoyed doing this.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk again. Yes, ma'am.
She has a channel. I have a channel. We can do this all day long. So definitely. Thanks again for being so gracious with your time and your information and energy.
All right. Thank you, ladies, so much. Take care.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Bye-bye.